Here's what we're diving into today: why we're drawn to men with that magnetic sense of calm and direction. They've mastered something almost everyone fears. Solitude isn't just downtime for them, it's a real transformation. When a man chooses stillness, he builds an inner strength we can feel in how he moves, speaks, and carries himself. It's the kind of confidence that stands out in a world full of noise and constant attention seeking. If you've ever wondered what makes us stop, notice, and respect you, this is where that journey starts in just a few minutes. You'll see why stepping into silence can make us chase you instead of the other way around. 2. Why silence is the hardest but most powerful step. Silence for most men is not just empty space. It's a challenge. Sitting alone without noise or distraction can feel almost unbearable. Most of us instinctively avoid it. We turn up music, scroll through our phones, or keep ourselves endlessly busy. But the truth is that heavy, uncomfortable silence is exactly where the real work begins. When you're alone and everything gets quiet, you're forced to face what you've buried. Regrets from years ago, insecurities you've never said out loud, the promises you made to yourself and broke. They all show up. There's no one else in the room to soften it or shift your attention. That's why so many men jump from relationship to relationship, always searching for something to fill that void. But every time you dodge what's in that silence, it just waits for you, building in the background and holding you back from becoming the man you want to be. Think about your own patterns. How many times today have you reached for your phone instead of facing your thoughts? The urge to distract yourself is strong because facing your own mind can feel like walking into a storm. But that discomfort is exactly what most men are running from. They get stuck in a loop, always chasing after the next distraction, never really landing anywhere. And you can tell when someone's living like this. They're restless, impatient, and always looking for something outside themselves to fix what feels off inside. But here's what stands out: a man who can sit with that discomfort and not run research on solitude shows that men who make space for silence, who don't rush to fill every quiet moment, gain real clarity and emotional awareness. You can feel the difference in someone who's done this work. There's a steadiness in how he moves and speaks. He knows what he's about, even if he never says it out loud. This clarity doesn't show up right away. At first, silence feels like a mirror. You'd rather avoid a reflection of every flaw and every piece of unfinished business, but the mirror isn't there to shame you. It's there to help you see where you really are, to take stock of what's working and what isn't. Over time, sitting with that discomfort starts to reveal something else: your resilience. You realize you're not just your worst thoughts, your insecurities, or what you think others see. You start to see those thoughts for what they are: signals about what you need to work through, not definitions of who you are. Men who stop running, who face the tension instead of escaping it, build a kind of strength that's hard to describe, but impossible to miss. They don't need distractions to feel okay. Their confidence comes from having faced the hardest parts of themselves and staying steady through it. And when you have that steadiness, it changes how you show up in every part of your life. There's something unmistakable about a man who can sit quietly with himself and not flinch. That's the kind of strength that shifts the way you think, the way you respond, and the way you handle whatever comes your way. It's not about being perfect. It's about being willing to grow. And that willingness is where real emotional strength begins to take root. 3. How solitude builds emotional strength that we can't resist. There's something unmistakable about a man who's found his center through solitude. We notice it right away. He doesn't get thrown off by every challenge or disappointment. Instead of reacting impulsively, he has a calm that holds steady even when things get messy. This isn't something you're born with. It's earned. And it's earned in those quiet moments when you're alone, working through what most people try to avoid. When a man skips that inner work, the cracks show. Maybe he snaps in frustration when things don't go his way, or he lets rejection send him spiraling. That kind of reactivity signals a lack of self-control. And it's hard to respect. We're not looking for someone who never feels anything or never struggles, but when your emotions run the show, we feel it and it makes us uneasy. It's the difference between feeling safe with you or always being on edge, waiting for the next outburst. You might not realize how visible this is: the need to prove yourself, to save face, to act out when you feel slighted. It's obvious if you haven't learned to sit with discomfort, you end up chasing validation in ways that push us away. But when you've spent real time in solitude, you start to see your own patterns. You get familiar with your triggers, your fears, and your regrets. And that's where the shift happens. Imagine two men side by side. One is always trying to show he's in control, loud, restless, always making moves to cover up his insecurity. The other stands out for a different reason. He's steady no matter what's happening around him. He doesn't need to prove anything. That kind of emotional grounding draws us in. It's not loud or flashy, but you can't ignore it. Background research shows that men who sit with their fears and regrets develop steadier composure and respond, rather than react. Solitude forces you to face your emotions head on. You learn to process frustration, disappointment, and fear without letting them take over time. You stop being ruled by your reactions. You start choosing your responses, and we feel that difference. There's a confidence that comes from knowing you can handle your own mind. That's what makes us trust you, respect you, and want to be around you. What's even more attractive is how this emotional strength shows up in real life. We notice when you pause instead of lashing out, when you handle conflict with calm instead of making it worse, when you don't treat rejection as an attack on your worth. That kind of resilience doesn't need to be announced. It just becomes part of who you are, and it's rare. Most men never get there, but when you do, it's magnetic. This steady confidence doesn't just stay inside you, it shapes your choices, your focus, and your direction. You start living with more intention and less desperation, and that shift changes everything about how you approach your relationships, your goals, and the way you move through the world. When you reach this point, something else happens. The way you connect with others transforms. You're not chasing approval or acting out of insecurity. You're able to choose what and who really fits your life. And that's where the real difference begins. 4. Why we're drawn to men who choose relationships from wholeness. What pulls us in isn't just confidence. It's the way you move when you're not searching for someone to complete you. When a man starts choosing relationships from a place of wholeness. We see it in the details. You might notice. He pauses before saying yes, rather than blurting out agreement. He doesn't jump at every invitation or bend his boundaries just to keep us close. There's a calm, steady way he interacts, and it's clear he's not operating from a place of fear or lack. We pick up on insecurity right away. If you're always eager to please, quick to compromise or avoid conflict just to keep things smooth, it stands out, that neediness. The sense that you need us to feel okay lands like a weight. Instead of feeling like we're with someone who can stand on his own, we feel like we're being asked to prop you up. It's exhausting, and it's not attractive. When you compromise your standards to avoid being alone, it doesn't just drain you, it drains the relationship over time. Those small sacrifices add up. You might tolerate disrespect, ignore your own needs, or accept dynamics that don't serve you all because the idea of being single feels unbearable. That's not partnership, it's survival, and it breeds resentment on both sides. But when a man has spent real time alone, learning to face his own fears and insecurities, everything shifts. He's not looking for someone to fix him or fill a gap. He's built his sense of self in solitude, and that changes how he approaches us. Suddenly, relationships aren't about avoiding loneliness. They're about adding to a life that's already solid. That shift is obvious. You become more intentional about who you let in. You step away faster from toxic situations, and you hold your boundaries without apology. We can see the difference in how you handle yourself and how you protect your time and energy when you show up without desperation for approval. It's compelling. You're not chasing anyone, and you're not looking for someone to make you feel worthy. Instead, you're clear about what matters to you and what you won't tolerate. When you're selective, we realize it's not because of arrogance. It signals you've done the hardest work alone, and that's exactly why we lean in. The confidence that comes from knowing your own value is magnetic. And it's felt in every conversation, every decision, every interaction. You don't have to announce it. It shows in your actions, like saying no without guilt, or choosing to walk away from drama instead of getting pulled in. That's the kind of strength that makes us pay attention. We notice when you choose a relationship, not because you need someone, but because you want them. That difference is everything. It means you're not looking to be rescued or validated. You're choosing us as equals. And that creates a level of respect and attraction that's rare. You're not focused on proving yourself or winning us over. You're grounded, and that makes us want to be around you even more. This approach changes the entire dynamic. We feel valued, not as someone you rely on to feel whole, but as someone you genuinely want in your life. That's why it's so irresistible. The connection feels stable, honest, and real, and that's what sets you apart. 5. Final reflection and message. The work you do alone doesn't just make you stronger. It makes every relationship you enter more genuine and fulfilling when you come to us from a place of wholeness. It's obvious you're not chasing, you're not settling, and you're not afraid of being alone. That kind of presence is rare, and it's exactly what draws us in. It's not about isolation or cutting yourself off from others. It's about building a foundation that can't be shaken. And that's where the real transformation starts to show. Solitude isn't about shutting the world out. It's about facing yourself and burning away what never belonged when you sit with your own thoughts and stop reaching for outside validation. You start moving with a different purpose. You no longer need someone else to tell you who you are or what you're worth. That kind of self-assurance doesn't come from noise or attention. It comes from quiet, honest work. As Stoic wisdom teaches, the man who can walk alone is refining. Not lost, embrace solitude. Master yourself, and you become truly unforgettable, if this resonates. Drop a comment describing one thing you're willing to face in the silence tonight.